All right, we are live on the weekend, Saturday. And Cody, Dr. Cody, where are you?
I'm
Are you
in
in the airport?
Miami, Florida.
In Miami, in the airport. All right.
Yeah,
We're also going live on Instagram. We're all set. Awesome. Well, it's good to see you. I know you got a few more minutes before your flight, so we got a little bit of time to
yeah,
cover a pretty cool subject that we both have been asked about by other women. And a big part of it is that working with women, you and I both. Um, it's it's about cortisol. It's about stress, like dealing with stress in our lives, and like women today are expected to be a lot of different things, similar to men, but like women are expected to be everything, like a boss, caretaker, partner, planner, all these things. But underneath the surface, many women are surviving on stress hormones. I just had an amazing breathwork session with a couple of individual women, private sessions, and just doing breath work and hypnotherapy with them. The level of heaviness that these women are carrying it's been tremendous to see how powerful they are. And of course, without all the stress hormones pulsing through their body and them holding everything, it's a question of who can they be then, right? Without the emotional, mental, and even hormonal chaos that's going on. So, Dr. Cody, what are you seeing when it
yeah.
comes to female clients and chronic stress? And what's different for women than men?
Yeah, so it's important to note that we're talking about what I've seen between the age of 35 and 45. Something
Okay.
happens, is a few things. Like there is a hormone shift. However, it's not just hormone shift, it's lifestyle, meaning either someone's had kids, job change, career, all the things like you were saying that a woman's expected to be.
Yep.
And it starts really building up. And so there's so many things that start happening. One of the big things that happens is women start to kind of go, man, I when I was working out in my 20s, when I eat right, my body, fat would come off my body. I've looked really good. But what starts happening is working out doesn't work anymore.
Yep.
Even diets, even eating healthy, like the weight will come off, and and they can't figure out why.
Hmm.
And our healthcare system is right now designed to drug people up, not fix something. It's designed to temporarily patch it. And so what I hear from my female patients is saying, my doctor told me that it's normal to turn 40 and have extra weight. My doctor told me it's normal to get tired when I'm 40. And it's like, oh, that's not in any anatomy textbook. That's not in any biology textbook. That's not a wiring in a woman's body that you should get
Yep.
tired, more sick, more unhealthy when you turn 40. So that's what I'm seeing around those age and that time.
It's a story. It's a story that again this becomes a
Yeah,
um, right, a self-guiding prophecy. Like that's
yeah,
ridiculous. Well, and
yeah.
let's also talk about, let's define cortisol, because like cortisol isn't necessarily bad, right? Cortisol is part of our whole natural like stress response.
Hmm.
Um, the problem is when it gets elevated and doesn't come in, right? So we get stress. If we're looking at a line here, we get stressed. We should be able to cover from that mental, emotional, all that stress comes in, it goes out, and we're supposed to be recover. The problem is it keeps stacking, right? Stress keeps going. People's heads are buzzing, their bodies are pumping all the hormones through their body. So that can like wreak complete havoc. That
Yeah,
disrupts sleep, hijacks the mood, promotes belly fat, like messes with your hormones in all sorts of ways, and then creates like more anxiety, irritability, and emotional dysregulation. So
yeah.
can you give us a little bit more on the context of cortisol, and why it's important in our life, and then what's actually happening here when people aren't recovering from it.
Yeah, yeah. So some people do call cortisol the stress hormone, but it really is interesting because all the hormones are so important. I guess if we back up a little bit and we look at the word stress isn't inherently bad in itself.
Hmm.
You have both good and bad stress, and you need stress, right? So cortisol is one of the hormones that basically helps you wake up in the morning, and it tells you that you're ready for your day. And so what's happening is so cortisol is your friend. One of the things that happens is basically like let's say in the morning, most people don't realize that this is part of a circadian rhythm. So your circadian rhythm is like your rhythm with planet Earth, with the way that things are aligned. You wake up in the morning, sunlight. is one of the first things that releases cortisol in your body. And sunlight, when it releases cortisol, it tells you it's time to be up. But how many people are sluggish and waking up in the morning? And you go, well, sunlight doesn't wake me up. One of the reasons is because they have trained themselves to have coffee. Coffee is what's triggering cortisol. So they've trained coffee instead of circadian rhythm. Okay.
Hmm.
One of the second things that releases cortisol in the morning is your meal, your food. You eating when you wake up releases cortisol. So part of circadian rhythm. And if you think about it, your body's trying to find out, like, when do you want me up? I don't know when to sleep. But I think it's important to understand that we're actually training our bodies. We're telling it what it needs and what it wants. So if I don't eat food and I wait to have coffee, I'm telling my body, listen, I want you to not wake up when I wake up. I want you to wake up when I have coffee. And so then what happens is the body starts really wiring and waiting for the caffeine to
Hmm.
release cortisol. So plus when caffeine, for example, will have this huge cortisol, like a spike, even right? And then you have a big tank.
Yeah.
When you use food and sunlight, you don't have massive ups and downs, right? So that's just a start in the morning. And then of course cortisol throughout the day, you're dumping cortisol. Cortisol being able to go away and be low is a part of you being able to fall asleep. And that's what's very interesting. And if you look at the other side of it, is like people don't realize you need your hormones to go high and to go low.
Yeah.
But what's funny is then if you're taking hormones from a doctor, they, hey, I want my hormones to be balanced. It's really not a great thing because I don't want a hormone. I want my system to balance my hormones when I'm going to sleep. So many people have a hard time sleeping because the cortisol is actually high. For many people, cortisol is low in the morning and high at night. And there's so many things that disrupts when that occurs.
Yeah. So many things. And we're talking and focusing on women, like women who are, single mothers and have a lot going on, kids and all that. It's a big demand on their system. And
Yeah.
so in all this chaos, sometimes it's really, really hard to have all this stuff wired in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the best ways that women can, who have a high stress life, let's say they run a business and or have a job, and then they've got kids at home, and
Yeah.
that may or may not be married and may not have a partner there, but like when things are out of whack, what are some of the best ways, that places we can control? I've got a few inputs on this, but I want you to kick it off. What are some of the changes and shifts in lifestyle that can help with this naturally?
Yeah, that's an important question. So basically, let's just say if someone's listening to this, and as a woman, you're like, man, I feel burnt out. My energy is crashing between noon and 3. That's a
Hmm.
sign that your hormones are out of balance. And then it's hard for me to wake up in the morning. I need coffee to wake up. So some of the first things you can do is start following. There's a term that no one's ever heard of. It's called chrononutrition.
Chrono,
Chrononutrition
CHRONO,
is
chrono.
correct. Yeah, yeah. Chrononutrition is the art form of activating circadian rhythm with your food.
Okay.
And so the timing of you eating, it is one of the biggest things that's violated. I'm in Miami right now. I was with one of my great clients. She's runs an amazing um neurology clinic, and I was helping her in her business. And one of the things we were noticing with her employees are super stressed because they're dealing with these really difficult cases, but they're not taking time to eat. Many times they skip their meal.
Hmm.
And what I was explaining to them was, listen, they look cool that you're like really busy and you're taking care of these other people. But when you miss your meal, you don't eat on time, you activate a part of your brain that puts you into survival mode.
Right,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
And when you're in survival mode, your brain literally thinks that you are without food. When you're without food, you go into fight or flight. And it will do what it does is it stores fat on your body, and it basically is like, okay, we have to manage off of stress, and so it keeps cortisol high. And so what's interesting is, I love, and this is in this conversation, is I love getting people to go away from survival and into thrival.
Yeah.
So thrival is when you have the correct amount of cortisol and you can use it when you need it. So one of the big changes we made was we're like, hey guys, let's make sure we put a policy for your employees, because it's all women that work there, to actually eat on time. It was something they hadn't even thought of. They were like, oh my God, I forgot about that. This is a neurology clinic, right? Of like, wait a minute, that's right. Like our cortisol is so high if we eat on time. So chrononutrition, eating on time and eating enough.
Yeah. And
Those are
when you
important
mean on
pieces.
time, you mean consistently,
Yeah,
right?
the same
Like
time daily. Yep.
right. So same as sleep, going to bed is sleep, going to bed at night, waking up in the morning. Consistency. The body and the subconscious mind loves consistency. So
Yeah,
if we can
yeah.
control these controllables, right? It's not about controlling everything. It's about controlling the non-negotiables that your body needs to maintain. And it sounds so simple, but
So
it's
so
not
simple.
easy. So
Yeah.
simple. So we're talking about eating consistently every 2 or 3 hours. And that also means meal prepping, probably for those of you who are busy, finding somebody to meal prep for you or getting it most of those meals out and having those healthy snacks on you. So setting yourself up for success. Going to bed and waking up at the same time. Also, no screen time before bed. Right, at least 2 hours beforehand. What else? What's another big one to help rewire
Well, yeah, you
your
started saying
side?
it, but one of the biggest hormone disruptors. This is important, I think, for women and men to know. This is helpful. Your so you have different stages of sleep. Okay, so what you just described was going to bed on time. Again, is a thrival move, not a survival move. Okay,
Yeah.
so like when your body knows when you're going to bed on time, you're getting enough food on time, your body's like, hey, we're doing really good. It allows you to activate parasympathetics. Okay.
Hmm.
Parasympathetics is where your body and mind digest and repair. And so it's important to understand that during your phases of sleep, you have a cycle of about an hour to an hour and a half, hour to 2 hours that you should have of deep sleep. But what's interesting is if you don't get that deep sleep, if you only get light sleep, people don't realize that you have hormones. Hormones are regulated in your sleep. And I want to make sure that women really hear this. Hormones are regulated in your sleep. So I started taking sleep way more seriously because even, for example, during your deep sleep is when growth hormones released. Why is that important? That's where you actually build muscle. Some people
Yeah.
go, oh, women ask me, how do I build muscle? Well, you can go lift weights and work out and you can eat on time. But if you don't get the proper deep sleep, growth hormone isn't actually released. And so bone repair, organ repair, tissue repair, and then also your brain rewiring itself, it happens in those REM cycles. And what's funny is those REM cycles, the great REM cycles happen at the very end of your sleep, not in the beginning. So if you're only getting 5, 6 hours and you never really get to that point of getting a great sleep, you're not releasing growth hormone, and your hormones really cannot regulate. So cortisol regulates itself when you're sleeping. That's a big deal.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. JC had a great comment here. She said, absolutely. Yet women need different amounts of sleep at different phases of their cycle, too.
Hmm.
Even more um, underneath that. Like it's very, very important where they are in their cycle.
Well, and by the
So,
way, women
yeah,
need different amounts of food on different parts of their cycle. Most
as
women don't
well.
know that.
Mm.
Most women are clueless of that. So that's an important piece. I agree with that.
That's a
It's
really good
both.
one. Yeah, JC, thank you for mentioning that one. That's specific for women. Okay, so
Mhm.
those are good. Those are some really good ones. Also, like let's talk about like rewiring stress response,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
This is
Because this
big.
is what
Yeah, big.
this is what we talk
Right.
about. This is what we have a webinar, by the way, masterclass coming up on the 29th. What day is that? On the 29th.
That Tuesday, this
Tuesday, this
Tuesday.
Tuesday coming up, we've got a masterclass unlocking your weight loss. We go into a lot of these details, but for now, let's talk about like rewiring the stress response specifically for women today. And so the nervous system needs rhythm and safety to reset. Here's
Yeah,
how to help
yeah.
cortisol come down. So one of the ways is when we find ourselves in a stress response in the middle of our day, like live, when things are happening and coming at us. We've talked about this before, but one of them is to begin deregulating your system, dysregulation. So instead of upregulation, we're going to downregulate. That is all controlled through our breath. That is nasal breathing to signal safety. In our nose and out our nose, literally sometimes closing our eyes as well, and just giving ourselves a few moments, a few breaths to down regulate. If you're breathing heavy, your body's going to be in that survival state. So we would go into thrival state, which is first nasal breathing to slow down, also slowing our exhale. So I like to go in for 4, hold at the top for 2, and out for 7 or 8. You're really slowing down the exhale breath to bring in down to dysregulate your nervous system. And so we can do that as well. Grounding with movement and stillness, right? As we're breathing as well, doing some stretching, doing some walking, getting ourselves out of the office, outdoors, out into the sun and doing something that I like to bring in called utaseta that I learned from the Vikings, where you're grounding yourself. Take the shoes off and just give yourself time to be in the grass, the dirt, or the snow, or whatever it is, and just
Yeah.
grounding yourself. And also looking at your voice tonality, not only to yourself internally, your self talk, but also just your tonality with everyone else. Sometimes as we're getting amped up and our nervous system is amped up and our cortisol is there, our voice can be elevated. It can almost be like we're a little bit yelling or talking so fast because we're just all ramped up, right? So just slowing everything down will literally help
Yeah.
us drop our cortisol levels.
That's huge. One of the big things that we've thanks for mentioning the on Tuesday we're going to do this webinar, and the webinar specifically is on like how do you rewire yourself to out of survival into thrival. And the result of that is we see people losing fat, we see people sleeping better, we see the stress going away. But breath work is very interesting. There's so much science behind this. And the funny thing is it's so easy to do if you know how to use your breath. And and we even pair in both Aaron James and I have paired in auto suggestion,
Hmm.
and we use our voices and we use our vibration to actually help the mind rewire. So it's interesting. Breath is such a simple thing to do, and it's one of the. I was just in this clinic I was talking about. They actually created a whole like part of their clinic where they go and relax, but they just weren't using it. And but they were like, "Oh my God, I totally forgot we created this." They literally had like they had sound bowls, and they had like literally meditation chairs. And I was like, "You guys like take 10 minutes to
10.
just go, yeah,
Yeah,
do some box
exactly.
breath." That's what it really takes. And so it's funny because we talked about sleep and eating on time, and but it's kind of like interesting because life's not always perfect. We may not be able to eat on time, we may not be able to sleep, but you can definitely take 10 minutes to sit and breathe. And there's
Yeah.
the perception that if we keep moving very quickly, I think in our society we have so many women, that I know, a lot, even close friends of mine that are just powerhouse women. And what happens is they're moving so quickly, both men and women moving so quickly, they forget to stop and breathe.
Yep.
So we've got very short. We even have a giveaway that we give people for joining the webinar, and it's our voice and walking you through this process of letting energy move through you, because so many people are storing energy, and stored energy is one of the number one causes of dis-ease or illness in the
Yes.
body. So that's big.
That's right. Dis-ease in the body. Exactly. Energy is meant to flow through, but we like to bottle it up on both ends, especially with the stress, and kind of force our way through. And I think it's kind of the American way as well, where we've been taught to
Yeah.
hustle, grind, keep fucking going, keep yours going to
Yeah.
be okay. You can sleep, sleep but you're dead kind of stuff. There's a lot of that
Right.
kind of stuff out there, but we need to rewire that. So part of it is also let's set ourselves up for success. What does that mean? That means use your phone, use the alarms, use things to interrupt your patterns of stress during the day. So when I have people who are high performers who are like maybe very successful in other areas, but their health and their body is just not in tune, we set up numerous alarms for them to go and stop for 5 or 10 minutes, do the box breathing, do the slower breath, and to go get them out of their normal routine of automaticity. Because people have
Hmm.
been grinding so hard so long, all we're doing is training our body how to respond. We have to
Hmm.
retrain our bodies how
Yeah.
to respond the conscious way, right? Everything becomes conscious through the consistency and as you continue doing this stuff, especially as emotion gets behind it, like negative emotions, like anger, like frustration, like rage. So we keep programming ourselves that way. It's going to continue to stack. So right now, this conversation is about, hey, remember today, everybody listening, especially the women right now, if you're grinding, if your week was really hard, let's set some things up this week to have at least 2 5-minute breaks per day. Set your alarm to do the most annoying noise you can or the most delightful noise, whatever gets your attention. Put it on your calendar also. If you're a time blocker and you use your calendar, I use time blocks all the time. I've got those as notifications so that I keep seeing it. Maybe even putting something under wallpaper. So like we've got to create these pattern interrupts throughout our day so that it helps us set ourselves up for success. And as hard as it can be just to shut out the world, 5 minutes of that deep, slower breathing and doing the things we talked about earlier can truly reduce the stress and avoid burnout. And you start doing that consistently every day, that's going to start turning into more and more time. And then you're going to get yourself back on track, as well as doing the non-negotiables of going to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time as best you can. And then the eating, the consistent eating. The body needs to be in the thriver mode, not the survival mode. So that's kind of a recap of what we just talked about. Anything else we want to add to this, Dr. Gody?
Yeah, I want to add, so many people don't have you and I have dove deep into this, but I want to just say if someone's watching this, if you haven't dove into really understanding how the unconscious mind works and how to rewire it, come to our webinar on Tuesday. Um,
Yeah.
so many people are making changes with their conscious mind, and the software has never been upgraded. So in other words, they're saying, I want this, but they never upgraded the unconscious mind. They've upgraded the thing that's really running their whole system. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that's an important piece to remember. Is like we're going to walk you through on Tuesday exactly how to rewire your mind and how to like get you out of survival into thrival, so that when your body releases fat, you feel you feel lighter. You're not walking around so heavy. I just encourage
Yeah.
people to join us for that.
For sure, for sure. And I want to leave everyone with this. Peace isn't the absence of stress. It is the presence of nervous system safety. Okay. So if you've been living on cortisol for years, it's going to take, it's going to take time for the nervous system to be taken care of, to not hustle, to heal. So have patience with yourself as well. Come to our event, keep checking out these videos, and please
Sure.
reach out to us and just um, DM us safety. DM us safety. If you have any questions, you want to talk about this, you have anything else to add, like, we just want you to know that, by doing these things, we can reduce that stress level and be able to show up better for our kids, for our family, for our significant others, and more importantly, for ourselves. So let's get a hold of this. Dr. Cody, thank you for the time today. I think it was super helpful, super, super good, because I had a lot of people that were very, very stressed out this week. And I even had my moments
Mm-hmm.
where I had to remind myself to, like, hey, cool. There's just too many things happening at once. And we're in control of this. Even though we say our days get
Yeah.
away from us, we do need to take radical responsibility about how we're setting our days up as well, not trying to fill them so much. So
Yeah, and
that's
Aaron,
it.
could you put the link to our to sign up for the registration in the comments for the
I
webinar?
can. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
post them in
and
there.
so I think that's important because one of the reasons I love doing these webinars is just if anything, you guys show up. Aaron James, both of us, he's going to walk you guys through this, but we created a nervous system reset. He's got a great voice doing this. He's going to actually take one of my favorite parts is we actually will walk through how to reset in just a few minutes, how to rewire your mind to actually creating not just the body you want, but also the ability to actually release and relax stress. He's going to actually walk you through that step by step and actually do it. We're not just tell you, we're going to walk you through it and do it for you. And that's
That's
one of
right.
my
We're going
favorite
through it.
my favorite
Yeah.
parts. Yeah. So yeah.
100% we are. Guys, if any questions, ladies, really thank you for your participation. Thank you everyone for commenting here as well. I'm going to post it on YouTube, and I'm also going to post it here as well. If you want
Awesome.
to come join us on Tuesday. Awesome. Everyone have a
Okay.
wonderful
Great to
weekend,
see everyone.
brother. Have
Yes.
a safe trip. We'll talk to you later, brother.
Everybody. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.